The coming of the Antichrist is a sign of the end. The identity of the Antichrist has long been a source of both debate and anxiety for Christians. The Bible warns that many people will be taken in by his lies or fail to recognize him for what he is and for who he is. No Christian wants to be one of those who is deceived by this demonic figure. Given that the stakes are actually nothing more or less than a person's eternal soul, a great deal is riding on successfully identifying the Antichrist. The internet is full of who people think this Antichrist is going to be, or who he is. Many claim that he's walking the earth today. Could be, I don't know. Innumerable churches have heard sermon warnings about what the Antichrist will say, and there are countless Bible study groups who have debated where the Antichrist will originate. The Bible is peppered with verses warning about this false prophet and alluding to the acts that will reveal him for what he truly is. The problem and source of debate comes from trying to weave dozens of cryptic remarks and prophetic hints into a clear picture. It's fuzzy at best. Unfortunately, someone has yet to turn those clues, that picture, into something cohesive. This leaves Christians stuck in the same uncertainty that all the debate is attempting to clarify. That said, the continued study of the Scriptures does leave us with the general idea of what the Antichrist will be like. There are 4 signs that will hint at the Antichrist's true identity. He will have charisma. The Antichrist will sway many people to his side. The fact is undeniable based on the description of the Antichrist throughout the Bible. He will be admired, and the odds are given he will be a smooth talker. He will win people over through his ability to speak great things. He will be eloquent in his speech. Those who follow the Antichrist will become zealous, and they won't question following him. It just is what it is. They will revile and persecute those who are leery of the Antichrist or disavow him. In this regard, many believe the Antichrist will be similar to that of Adolf Hitler. Hitler was known to be extremely charismatic. Those who actually met him in life say that he was extremely skilled at making connections with people and saying exactly the right thing at the right time. Hitler projected a certainty that lent his opinion authority, and he had a talent for sinking his claws into a person's subconscious thoughts or desires. That's a scary thought. The Antichrist is likely to have these similar gifts. He will give voice to what people believe but are reluctant to say, and in doing so, he will gain their loyalty. He will be clever. The Antichrist will be a clever man. He'll be smart and cunning. Daniel 11 describes the Antichrist as taking control through intrigue. Daniel 8 says he will be a master of deception. This supports the idea of the Antichrist as something akin to a charming, clever psychopath. Again, that should scare you. That calculating cleverness will help bring the Antichrist to global prominence in multiple ways. One of those ways is as a military tactician. Verses in both the Bible of the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel describes the Antichrist as being a powerful military leader, as unrivaled military genius is in his time, who will develop a tendency to attack when his victims feel secure. Another of the Antichrist's ability is to avoid what people would see as scandalous behavior. It is said that he will not regard the desire of women, thus avoiding the common scandal of an affair. Revelation also says that the Antichrist will be given the authority to make war. His actions, violent as they may be, will be supported, but by not just zealous followers, but by what the average person will recognize as legitimate authority. He's going to be a conqueror. The Antichrist will have the cunning to be a successful military leader. Revelation and Daniel both describes the Antichrist's military prowess. But there's a difference between being a talented tactician and being a conqueror. The Antichrist is undoubtedly the latter. Revelation 6:2 says that the Antichrist will go forth conquering and to conquer. He will take over lands that did not belong to his people and hold them. His conquest will likely take place at least partly in the Middle East. The theory of the Antichrist's involvement in the Middle East is common, especially the notion that part of his strategy will be to make peace with Israel before attacking the Jewish people. The Antichrist's conquest will also be seen as legitimate. Revelation 13 says that the Antichrist will be permitted to wage war on God's holy people and given power to extend his authority over every tribe and people. Revelation 13 also states bluntly that the Antichrist will succeed in conquering God's people, at least for a time. He will have economic control. As well as gaining military control over much of the world, the Antichrist will gain economic control. In Revelation 13, the infamous number of the beast is discussed, and it is related to the Antichrist's control of the economy. According to scriptures, the Antichrist will compel all people to be marked with an inscription on their hands or their foreheads. Only those with this mark will be allowed to buy or sell. Whether the Antichrist will use force or charisma to compel people to accept this mark is not stated. It's assumed, but it's not stated. It could, however, be born of simple practicality. People may be presented with the choice of refusing to take that mark or losing their chance to participate in any sort of buying or selling. The Antichrist's charisma and cunning would allow him to make this seem like a reasonable requirement of trade. With society accepting this new regulation, even those who disagree with the Antichrist oblige and take the mark so that they can feed their families. Now the fourth one is he's going to be blasphemous. The Antichrist will be a blasphemous man. It seems like blasphemy would be an easy way to identify the Antichrist. But consider what the Bible defines as blasphemy. Any use of the Lord's name in vain. Now, think of how often the phrase, "oh my God," is used to denote shock or excitement. Recognizing the Antichrist will be difficult, especially in the Western world, especially right here where we live. Today, where religion is often kept carefully out of politics. A clever man could very easily get away with a great deal of blasphemy. And they do. Especially if he takes care to do it in ways that are common around him. But the blasphemy of the Antichrist will eventually reach new and unheard of heights. And he will attempt to say that he is God. Until that time, however, no one is likely to look twice at a man who uses Jesus Christ as a curse when startled or angry. He will do wonders. What will set the Antichrist apart from other clever, charismatic leaders is his ability to accomplish wonders. The Gospel of both Matthew and Mark warn that the Antichrist will perform miracles that convince many people that he is the Messiah returned, not Christ's enemy. In 2 Thessalonians, it is said that the coming of the Antichrist will coincide with numerous signs and marvels. One of these false miracles will give us a few physical characteristics of the Antichrist. In Revelation 13, we learn that the Antichrist will survive a deadly wound, usually attributed to a head or facial wound. This miraculous survival, or perhaps even a return from the dead, will convince many that the Antichrist is actually Jesus returned. Some link this sign with Zechariah 11:17, which calls for the Antichrist arm to be completely withered and his right eye totally blinded. While some interpret these verses as meaning that the Antichrist will actually be blind in one eye, possibly from whatever mortal wound he survives, others believe the verse describes a more metaphorical wound. Those familiar with the history of Hitler's rise to power know that there was a period where it looked very much like the Nazi Party was going to fade into obscurity. Revelation may be describing a time where the Antichrist loses power and support, only to regain it spectacularly in returning to prominence, gain more followers than ever. So Christians, we must be vigilant. Despite the sheer number of times the Antichrist is mentioned in the Bible, there is little that will definitely identify him before he has the world under his thrall. Christians must be vigilant and be sure to maintain a questioning attitude. We need to question everything. The spell of charismatic men and women can be dampened through logic. After all, those who experienced Hitler's rise said many things of his speeches could be refuted by reason. Be wary of things that sounds perfect, and of those who seem to have all the answers, especially in today's divisive time.